So I'm with Barry Kaplan of Access Management, and we're going to talk about hotels and traveling again. And it so happens that initially I thought you wouldn't be traveling, and here you are. You got on your first airplane yesterday. When was the last time you were on an airplane before that?
March 13th. So good morning. And yes, it was quite a journey.
So you told me that you were surprised at how many people were actually on the flight.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. I thought that there would be, empty middle seat or at least a seat between people. Although
We won't call out the airline.
right, at
But
least I will say that, from the time that we boarded to the time that we got off, everyone kept their masks on. I was on a Amber jet, which has about 88 passengers, and there was not one empty seat. And that was from Philadelphia to Detroit. So, and I would say probably 50% business travelers and 50% leisure. So other than the masks and no food service, no sodas or anything like that, pretty standard.
So it's good to hear people are starting to travel again. I want to back up, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I definitely want to talk about what you do for a living, because you've been doing it for a long, long time. You've been in the hotel management.
Calling out my age at this point.
I'm calling out my age because there are going to be a lot of people watching this who know we've been friends for a long, long time. So I'm calling out both of our ages. But you started, you went to Michigan State, so yay for our Spartans. Since I live in a household full of Wolverines and we haven't managed to get any, well, you only have one in college yet right now. So maybe there's hope that you'll get someone to go to MSU, but you've been in the hotel business for 33 years plus.
Right, exactly. So I graduated Michigan State in 1986. So that's 34 years now. In fact, I graduated June 6, 1986. So we just came upon our 34th anniversary. Where does time go? And this is the only business that I'm in. So a quick snapshot is I started as a management trainee for a Southwestern Hilton franchise company called Metro Hotels, which is now defunct. As a management trainee, went through a 12-month management training program, worked my way up. It was a Hilton franchise, worked my way up through sales and marketing, then went to Hilton National Sales Corporation based in New York, spent 5 years there, then went to an independent hotel called the Washington Court in Washington, D.C. It was the Sheraton Grand. We reflagged it, spent 5 years from director of sales into operations capacity, and then resident manager. From there, I came back to Detroit and repositioned the hotel at the airport, which we subsequently changed to a DoubleTree. And at that time, I was working for a company called City Hotels, which was also a hotel management company. We bought 7 properties, a 7-property portfolio, which we renovated all 7 to DoubleTrees or Hilton. And after that, I went with a private equity firm and moved to Columbus, Ohio to reposition a historic hotel with a Westin brand, and spent 5 years growing an independent brand called Melrose. And then I turned 40, and which was a long time ago now, and decided to start my own firm with 2 gentlemen who came up through the ranks with me. And that's how we started Access Hospitality. So we started Access Hospitality in 2005, and we do third-party management, anywhere from an 18-room hotel in the Dominican, which is owned by a high net worth individual, to 2 of our largest hotel operations are owned by Pebblebrook, which is one of the largest hotel REITs in the nation. 2 properties in San Francisco, the Marker and the Serrano. So a very large array of assets, very diverse type of clientele. and all with, wanting to achieve different objectives, whether they're buying it for investment, whether they're buying it as a trophy asset and want to have it a legacy to their family. What we've really tried to do in our business is, again, rely on what the objective of the investor or the client is and try to do that as thoroughly as possible. It just so happens that a majority of our business has been in the independent hotel market, and that's what we really do very well. Is every hotel has a story, every hotel has a culture, and it's not so much about the access management company, although we like to think we're great operators, but it's really what that hotel transforms in the community and how we can get a workforce that can deliver the results, not only financially, but also have a terrific work environment. And so that's what we've done. And that's what I've done for 15 years. A very long-winded answer, but
No,
that's a little
well,
bit
so
about
tell
my
me, let's take, break it down a little bit. And I love the part that every hotel has a story, because I think that when you walk into a particular hotel, you definitely, the best hotels, you see little nuances, and that's what people really like about certain hotels, or why they go back to those hotels in certain cities, like why you go back to a particular hotel in New York, why people like it, or San Francisco, like unique cities. So in thinking about some of the hotels that you manage, what are the day-to-day operations, or what do you put your mark on to work with those hotels? Like what is, I don't think people realize when they walk into a hotel that there's a management company behind it.
right.
They see the facade of, workers, but they don't know, you
Right.
know,
So whether you're a large brand like a Hilton Corporation or Marriott Hotels or a third party, just like you said, there's a workforce and there's an executive team which helps cultivate that workforce and build a culture in that hotel. And specifically, when you're talking about independent hotels, when you have that brand loyalty of a Hilton, a Marriott, Hyatt, there are lots of tentacles as a brand operator, right? There's lots of distributions as a brand. There's lots of standard operating procedures. There's lots of best practices. There's a whole conglomerate, a plethora of support. When you're an independent hotel, the difference is you have to compete with all of those large corporate hotels or corporate management companies. And so what you really need to do is glean the best practices from all of them, or the best standards for all of them, and then implement it to your specific hotel so you're just as competitive, but then you need a point of differentiation. And so that's where the story and the culture comes in. If you go to a Hilton, I'd like to say every hotel, Hilton, Hyatt, Marriott, everyone has terrific sheets, everyone has great beds, everyone has a large screen
some
TV.
are better than
Right?
others.
Some are better than others, but the point of differentiation, and it might sound trite, is really the people and the culture. So specifically, if you want to drill down, whether it's our hotel in San Francisco, which is called the Sparrow Hotel, which has a whole philosophy. Sparrow in Spanish means hope. And so we have a three-prong approach, which talks about sustainability, philanthropy, and luxury service. Or a hotel that I was just in the beginning of the week, Roaring Brook. And Roaring Brook was a 50-year-old resort, which has been in a family for all of those 50 years, 5 decades, family legacy, which is a terrific ranch style hotel, kind of dirty dancing genre, if you will. And the family hasn't renovated it. So, a downtown urban property in San Francisco is much different than a resort in Lake George. And so what are you going to do to attract your customer? So you have to build what that story is, not only about the name, but what, what's iconic about it. What makes it different? Why do people want to come? And in the hotel business, there are two things that you really measure your success besides the obvious, which is, profitability, is intent to return and intent to recommend. And so intent to recommend is, hey, I've had a terrific stay, so Sarah, you should come to the hotel and here's why. Or intent to return, I had a great stay, so I'm going to come back and back over again and repeat it. And so, that type of platform of telling a story are really the things that people remember. Whether, let's take the ranch at the Roaring Brook Resort, we have 25 horses for rent. We have campfires and s'mores. We just put $15 million in the 120 room asset. It has tennis courts and it has pools, but we also have family activities, right? We have, whether it's a family bingo or a kids swimming program, what do we do to make the guests involved and have that type of interaction? And certainly with COVID, it's made it a little more difficult, but the idea is that theme and thread of a story needs to permeate. One of the most recent assets that we actually bought, which is a small inn in New Hampshire called the Inn at Thornhill. It's 25 rooms. Also, a historical hotel, has been around since 1930. So it's going on 100 years old. And that has a story in itself. We have an original wood flagpole from when it was first built. The inn was burned down to the ground and then rebuilt. There have been 6 generations of family in it. You can sit on our patio and see bears come across the field. So, that's a very different experience from our Sparrow experience in San Francisco or New York. But the point is that you want to create memorable experiences for people. And that's
so you touched on something that you flew last March 13th, and hotels in San Francisco or family experiences, I mean, that was it. It was shut down. And I know you to be on an airplane, usually not knowing really what time zone you're in, because you live out east, you fly out west, or you fly, your corporate office is in Florida. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But, I envisioned people in your hotels who, at that point just probably wanted to check out, get on an airplane, rent a car, or whatever they wanted to do, and kind of get home. But, I mean, how has your industry, been impacted at this point?
I think we're stating.
I mean, we've all been impacted.
Right, exactly. I think that there's no secret. I mean, the travel industry in itself has been, decimated. At the same time, it's like every other business that's trying to deal with the pandemic. When we don't have a crystal ball, we don't know when COVID virus, there's going to be a vaccine for it. So you really have to make some individual decisions and judgment calls, not only for yourself personally, but also for your clients and for your employees. How do you make the environment safe? How do you stay open?
So what are you doing? And I know every hotel's got to be individual, but what are you doing as you start to walk through the process with some of your hotels? And again, I know that's a general statement because you're talking about from East Coast to West Coast in different cities where, here we're in Michigan. You and I had dinner last night. In Detroit, it was starting to open a little bit. You and I saw some masks on, some not. San Francisco, it's not as open. You're in a city that really isn't open.
So there are really some, common threads, and I can only speak, specifically of what we've been doing in our organization. But if
Mhm.
you read industry literature and brands, everyone, is marketing right now cleanliness and safety, which
Mhm.
should be a given when you're checking
Right.
it out. But now there's a heightened awareness, and
Mhm.
from our standpoint, we have a portfolio of 18 hotels. Out of those 18 hotels, 5 stayed open continuously through this pandemic, which we're
Okay.
still in, and some are coming online because of location. So we had or have 2 hotels in San Francisco. One has stayed open since the pandemic started. One has been completely closed, whereas our in New Hampshire was closed for several months, and the government, the state government, just lifted its ordinance that people can stay, and then when people can stay, you can only have 50% in the hotel or 50% in the restaurant.
Mhm.
But the commonality is, the first thing is, we had to lay off a lot of people. So how do you keep your executive team and your management team motivated? Because they're doing a lot of jobs that they had other people help them do,
Yeah.
right? So from that standpoint, mid-level management, executive level management, and many of them have had to take pay cuts. Many of them have had to, forego vacations
Mhm.
because, we need that labor force to keep everyone engaged. So
Yeah.
we've done a couple things. One is we have a Zoom call every day with all of our executive team. Number two is, from cleanliness standpoint, masks, social distancing, plexiglass at the front desk, contact lists, check-in, sanitizing, whether that's the electrostatic sprayer where we go in the
Mhm.
rooms, whether that's UV lighting. Each hotel, depending where it is in the marketplace, has all of those practices in place. And even cleaning the rooms. When a guest is checked in a room now, if it's a stayover, meaning a guest is staying for a number of nights, the housekeepers won't go in the room unless the guest requests it, and then the guest must be out of the room. The guest can't stay in the room. And so, in terms of best practices in keeping people safe, all of the things that you would expect to happen are happening. But then again, as I said, more detailed, right? Light switches, high contact places, light switches, doorknobs, remote controls, right? The toilet flusher on your toilet, things
Yeah.
that should be cleaned all the time anyway. Now you're triple and double checking and making sure that, that sterilization is occurring, because you want your guests to feel safe. But again, it's a personal decision, right? Is it safe to travel now, is the question. For me, at this point, being quarantined where I live in Philadelphia, we just got, or going green. We have a 3-phased approach: red, yellow, green. We're just going green on Friday. So I thought it was time to get out, and especially, even though it's great to have Zoom calls and keep the team together, I mean, really being in the field and thanking people for a job that they're doing during these tumultuous times, I think has to be a face-to-face discussion. And, those people on the front lines are very brave people. I know, hospital workers, EMTs, all of those people are brave, but a front desk clerk who may be making $10 an hour, who's checking in a random guest that you don't know, I mean, they're on the front lines deciding that, I'm
Yeah.
going to take a chance with COVID. So we're trying to be safe. We're trying to keep our team motivated, and we're trying to stay positive that we're all going to get through this together, that we're going to come out a better place and keep the team intact. And that's what we've been trying to do, for the past 4 months during this pandemic, and we'll continue to do until that vaccine is found.
Yeah. Well, I want to switch gears because you also, Access has sort of a unique, what I really find unique about your management team. that a lot of hotel resorts, they stick with just, managing that. You have a different second prong to your management, and that's the residential component, which your main office is out of Florida. And you handle a huge other component, which is, why you're on an airplane all the time. But talk to me a little bit about the whole residential management side, because that's completely different.
Right. Well, you think it's completely different, but again, that commonality, how we got in the residential business is because of the hotel business.
Mm-hmm.
We've been very blessed to really have a two-pronged approach. And in 2005, when we started the hotel business, which is a business that I love, we had an opportunity in 06. The economy was starting to flounder, 06, 07. To go ahead and convert a condominium complex into a condo hotel. And so it was 700 units, 7 buildings, 100 units each. The developer at the time was American Invesco out of Chicago. They had built a complex called the Meridian Luxury Suites in Las Vegas, and they could not move the condominiums. So they brought our company in to go ahead and position it as a condo hotel, which we did successfully. And then it went back to condominiums, but it was a short-term play. But during that time, we were very involved in the homeowners association. And so our client at the time had individuals in there who had owned not one condominium, but a multitude of condominiums. So a gentleman asked us, what do we know about the homeowners association business? Time we said, we've been here for 18 months. We've learned homeowners association business. He said, well, there's an interesting opportunity for you. There's a place in Orlando, Florida, which was called Vista K, which was called at the time, registered as a residential resort. And what that means as a residential resort is not only could the community be leased on a monthly basis, but it could be leased on a transient basis. And actually the developer there, a Michigan-based company, Pulte Homes, was building Vista K, and it was supposed to have 834 mixed units, a combination of townhomes and duplexes. And they already had 15 different management companies in that community. So if you're trying to sell a product and you have 15 different management companies trying to promote the product, it's hard to tell.
It's 14 too many.
Right, exactly. So, and one clubhouse. So to make this story even longer, the gentleman said, I can get a foot in the door. And he said, what you've done in this community in Las Vegas, we think that you could help Pulte Homes transform it into, a consistent platform. And so at the time, I was fortunate enough to do a presentation to the vice president of sales, who was also a Michigan State grad, happenstance, who's now president of Pulte in Tampa. And, the reason to pick us is because there are many transferable skills and practices that you do in the hotel business that you can do in the homeowners association business. So what do I mean by that? Whether a hotel is 1 year old or 100 years old, it should be in a like new condition. Whether your community is just built or it's homes that are 100 years old, it should look in a like new condition. We have preventative maintenance in a hotel. You should have preventative maintenance in a homeowners association business. You should have line item accounting and zero-based budgeting. That's the same thing in the homeowners association business. Point of contact and communication, as I told you before, intent to return and intent to recommend. In communities, it's intent to recommend and intent to stay, to buy. So there are a lot of transferable skills and practices that we had in both. The the homeowners association business is a not-for-profit business, meaning that the homeowners association isn't there to make money. What's interesting about the state of Florida is because there are these very large homeowners associations and community, there's over 75,000 homeowners associations in Florida. It's a regulated enterprise because budgets of a community that says, let's say, has 3,000 homes could be a $10 million budget. And now in our generation, talking about our age, I mean, there are going to be 90 million people in the next 10 years going into either retirement or looking for some type of lifestyle community. And so that's really where that transference from hospitality to homeowners association is. Our motto is hospitality is our foundation, happiness is our focus. But the reality is those lifestyle communities, which is about culture, which is about telling a story. Why am I living in this community? Why do I want to recommend it? What types of fantastic activities are happening in there? And so developers are getting more bullish. And so whereas it used to be a community that just has a clubhouse and pool, now you're seeing resort style communities.
Right.
So communities that we operate is called Olay, which has a movie theater, which has a bistro, which has also a fine dining restaurant, which has a pub, which has 3 resort style pools. So that's really a hotel without having to, generate anything, right? But you still have those practices of, I have to keep my staff motivated. I have to give terrific service. I have to give homeowners a reason.
Oh, probably even more so because they're paying for it and living there. I mean, I think you and I have talked about, where my parents live in Marco Island. They don't have a management service. My dad is president of his building, which is
job.
Beyond thankless. He's tried to quit twice. And, he is president. It's like 2 buildings. And talk about more thankless in a pandemic.
Right.
So I want to talk about that because in the pandemic, he had to tell owners, you can't come.
Right.
So they were they were quarantined. And so these owners said, hey, I'm quarantined up in Connecticut or New York. Right. I'm going to go to my place in Florida. And the owners in Florida are like, no, you're not coming here.
Right. It's exactly right. In our lifestyle communities, as I said, you have lots of resort activities, right? You have basketball courts and tennis courts and pools. Well, I live there. I'm paying my assessment.
I get to use them.
Right. I should be able to use them. And, as a management company, you need to keep everyone safe. And if the CDC ordinance needs to be shut down, then you have to be on the front line of shutting the pool down. In a community like that, whereas in a hotel, you like to say you're working for one owner or one investor. In a community, everyone is an owner. So if you have a community of 3,000 homes, that means that you have 3,000 people that you're answering to and trying to keep everyone happy. Can you all the time? Hopefully you're doing the best job that you can and creating the best environment that you can keep a majority of happy, but you people happy. But there will always be someone, whether it's a hotel guest or a member of the community, who isn't happy with your services, and it's how you respond to that negativity. And I know it sounds trite, but turn that frown upside down. How are you going to make it a better environment for them? How are you going to solve their problems? Back in the day, used to talk about LEAP. Listen, empathize, action, and then produce that act. So you try to be empathetic and listen and to do the best you can to keep people happy.
Is Florida the only place that you have residential
So we started with one, as I said, which was called Vista K in 2000, late 2006. Right now, we're over 170 communities on build out. We'll be responsible for managing over 60,000 units. We have an office in Orlando, Celebration, as you alluded to, one in Sarasota, one in Tampa, and a satellite office in Naples. And that's a good segue. And where else do we have it? We just opened up our office, or opening up our office July 1st in Myrtle Beach. So the idea is to grow out of Florida, and Myrtle Beach will be a good opportunity for us. Because again, there are a lot of lifestyle.
You should get a PR person.
Right.
I always like to throw that in. You can only do that with some people live, you know. But I asked you that, you know, where you're growing, but on the hotel side, if you, I know I don't believe in crystal balls. I believe in wish lists and thinking, you know, you put it out there. Where do you want to grow on the hotel side? Like, if, you know, where do you want to be?
Yeah, we've had a very unique opportunity. You know, I like to say, and I don't know if you remember those miners that were trapped in Peru a long time, and they got a small company out of Pennsylvania, where I'm from, to build the cage to get one miner out at a time. And they said they're a very small company, but we do very big things. We like to say the same thing. We've been fortunate enough in our 15 years to handle any asset, a large asset, a 400-room resort with 200 condominiums, to a small boutique hotel that's only 10 rooms. It's really not about how many hotels we can amass and manage. It's really about the type of hotels, looking for unique independent hotels that we can manage. And so throughout, you know, this pandemic, there have been opportunities where there have been distressed owners or distressed ownership groups which are looking for advice or looking for us to help manage. So right now we're at 18 hotels. We actually have 2 in development. We have a 200-room Hyatt Centric with 200 residences, which is going to be built in Koreatown. It's called the Hyatt Koreatown, should open up in 2022. We also just signed an agreement with a Brazilian developer in Florida, which will be a 400-room condo hotel called the Sycamore Resort. So, you know, that's kind of a hybrid. So I really see us moving, you know, combining both our energies in hotel and homeowners association business. But if you said, you know, on the hotel side, where we'd be, we hope to double in size in the next 5 years. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurial type drivers or managers to go ahead and fill the void. It's not going to be, you know, same old, because as we come out of the pandemic, you know, not everyone is launching at the same rate, right? Pennsylvania is not opening at the same rate as California. California isn't opening at the same rate of France. So it's really going to take specialized, I think, talent to go ahead and look at a community or look at a hotel in the state and determine, you know, how I'm going to generate business, not only during this time, but have a good platform for the future.
Well, I think it's great. I think what you're alluding to then, in a really amazing positive light, is that you feel people are going to get comfortable again and travel, which I think so too. You know, I'm talking to a travel expert at 11, David Fishman of Cadillac Travel, who I've worked with for as long as I've been doing this. I mean, he's been my client forever. He's one of the most positive people in travel. And, you know, he and I talk a lot. And one of the things we talk about is that, like everything, people are going to have to find their own way getting back to travel. you know, he and I have been doing a lot of segments, whether it's a road trip. You know, we happen to live in Michigan. You in Philadelphia have the same benefit of doing great car trips. You know, I don't know if this summer you're going to be able to, you do a
Right.
family trip to the shore.
Right.
You know, I don't,
Here's
you know,
the
you know, we get to travel and see beautiful things, and people are going to have to take their baby steps. And a lot of people say, I'll go in the car. I'm nervous about the hotel. And I'm like, I feel like everybody's going to have to, you know, get to their comfort zone. But they're going to get there. It's sort of like after 9/11.
right.
You know, we started taking off our shoes. We started putting things in the tray. You know, we're going to walk in these hotel rooms again, and, you know, we're going to look around, and, you know, we're going to get comfortable again.
You know, as I said before, everyone's got to get comfortable with their own safety and security.
Mhm.
Hoteliers and operators, we have a responsibility to always make people feel safe, make sure everything is clean. But you know, people are bunker mentality is, you know, I've been in my house for so long, I need to get out of the bunker. And so people
Right.
are at least going to wander out of, you know, their comfort zone in terms of drive-by radius. So we really
Right.
feel that the first thing that will come back is the leisure traveler, families or business people who are like, I can drive in this 3-hour radius. It's safe enough to wander out. I can take that short visit with my family, or I can take that short business trip. I mean,
Yeah.
airlines have it very tough right now. Although what I experienced yesterday was seeing it full. You know, I think that's coming back too. But certainly, you know, leisure, local travel is what's going to come back first. And if you look at our inn in New Hampshire, which we just opened up last week, you know, we've had you know, a terrific occupancy because, you know, New Hampshire, that inn is a drive-in market, whereas as I
Mhm.
said to you before, San Francisco, major urban destination, city hotel, relies on convention business, relies on
Right.
business travel. That hotel is still closed. But
But I will say this, and I think one of the things that the your LA market, your San Francisco market, I have a good friend. It was I think their 30th wedding anniversary, and they had to cancel a big trip. So they're doing a, you know, an in-town, um, you know, checking into a hotel. They here in Detroit, they looked around to find one that they felt the most comfortable with. They happened to see a TV segment about a hotel, and has their restaurant is open now. So, like, to me, I think about your San Francisco properties when they open,
right,
and
special occasions, being
mhm,
able to go and find something in your backyard. I mean,
yeah,
people don't like being sheltered in place, right? What makes life exciting? I have going across my computer screen all the time. Every day is a field trip, right? Every day is a
right,
field trip because you get out there, you meet people. I mean, to me, that's what makes it life
right,
exciting. And those people who travel and stay in hotels
right,
predominantly for a living, or even the people who travel with their family, they're getting out because people like adventure. People like new experiences. People like meeting other people.
100%.
So
And
how long can we
travel is the number one thing that people Google on the internet.
right. What
Besides,
brings
so
people together? So now you have to travel with a mask. You know, now you fist pump or, you know,
right,
air hand slap. But, you know, I mean, that's really the heart of, you know, the connectivity to the world to
right,
me is travel, going to different places, having different experiences, having a different story in a
right,
hotel or a different type of cuisine. I mean, people are curious by nature, and so it's hard to put that in a bottle. And, you know, you look at the United States now and the inconsistencies that we're having in terms of opening up because, you know, our patience levels are all different. But the bottom line is, you know, we all want to get out. We all want to get back to business. but we want to be safe. And how do we do that? And we have a family to feed, but we also want to explore.
Right.
So all of those things compete with each other in your own psyche. And you have to decide, as I said, for you, when is it safe to go? What's exciting in the travel world? Is it getting on a plane and coming to Detroit? Or, I can only fathom going an hour outside and staying in a hotel there. But it's definitely going to come back. And I think sooner than later.
Well,
Pandemic or no pandemic.
that's right. Well, it's always fun to see you.
Well,
Thanks.
thanks. I can't believe the time has gone by.
Well, we can always, you and I can always talk forever, and I'm sure we will. I'm glad.
Having me, and
Yeah.
a pleasure actually being on this side of the screen. Usually when we're together, we're at a restaurant, and this is a little bit different. So it
was fun. It's always fun.
Exactly. Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me talk a little bit about our company.
Yeah, your company's doing great things. I'm excited for your company's future because I think it's only going to continue to grow.
Thanks,
I think you're right. I think people are going to, really get back on travel. And I think that when they realize that not just your company, but, the hotel industry is going to have to step it up to get people back and do different things in the hotel industry and the residential side to be safe. And, I don't think it was that we weren't safe before, but now we're just going to put protocols in place. And
the thought that I'll say to you is, whether you're in the homeowners association business or whether you're in the hotel business or the restaurant business, it doesn't matter. Any place in the service industry, people are in the service industry because they're rewarded by serving people and having new experiences and making that connection with people. Whether you're a bartender or a housekeeper, I mean, there's a reason that you're in the service business. You like taking care of people. And I think if we continue with that philosophy, we want to keep people safe. We want to keep people happy. But, we like serving. We like taking care of people. We'll be successful in whatever we do in service. Right. So thank you again for having me. All right.
fun.
Hope to see you soon. And
all right. Well, I'm glad you're in Detroit, and we'll have to talk about why you're in Detroit another time.
That will be another call.
That'll be another call. All right. Have a great day.
Morning. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.